Year-round residents, part-time residents, and visitors do feel a strong sense of place and connection with Lake George. That's often based both on its natural, physical beauty and the fact that generations of ancestors have visited the same location. This past summer, my son worked at Canoe Island Lodge on Lake George. It was built in the 1940s by a good friend of my great uncle. That same family's been running the lodge since the 1940s. And many of the visitors to the lodge have been coming to the same location, staying in the same room, often during the same week for generations, all the way back to the 1940s. My son loved working for the same establishment that his older cousins worked at before him. And I love the thought of multiple generations of our two families intertwined around the same location back through the decades. That is a very strong sense of place. If you spent time in Lake George, you've likely seen people wearing hats and shirts with a graphic of the word of the lake and the word local. These are products of a very successful local small business. This small business has capitalized on the strong sense of place and connection to the Lake George region. This gear is often worn proudly by very part-time residents into the region, as well as those who live here year-round. So one of the goals of our first wilderness project is to instill a similar sense of place for the communities in the western part of the county. These towns share both a rugged geography and history as the first route into the heart of the Adirondacks, first via the Hudson River and then on the Adirondack Railroad. These communities are smaller, they're more rural, they're less frequently visited, but they share an amazing history as the first place that Americans realized that wilderness was going to be an important part of our civilization. They were the birthplace of legislatively protected wilderness. So we're hoping that our work with Dan Forbush and Bill Walker on our Stories from Open Space series, our collaboration with the Historical Society, in shining a light on these first wilderness communities, their history, as well as what they have to offer today, helps instill a sense of pride in our local residents. We also hope that it draws new residents and visitors to the area. We want to develop a strong sense of place that leads to stronger communities and a good quality of life. So on this topic, further expanding, first we'll be hearing from Teri Rogers, who's the Executive Director of the Warren County Historical Society. She'll be speaking about the Historical Society Museum's Warren 360 exhibit, as well as a new initiative called Warren County Voices, which invites Warren County residents to share their memories growing up and how they helped shape their sense of place. Next, we'll hear from Dominic Giordano, who's currently a freshman at Skidmore. He grew up in the first wilderness. Last year, as a senior at North Warren High School, he created an exhibit about the history of mapping in Warren County. Very place-based. And finally, we'll hear from our county historian and the Historical Society co-presidents, Stan Cinfrano. He'll share more information about the plans to commemorate our county's founder, Joseph Warren, with a new museum in his name. At that point, we'll open discussion to the audience around the 45-minute mark. So if you have any questions for Teri, Stan, or Dominic, please feel free to leave them in the chat. And with that, I will turn it over to Teri.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and welcome to all of you. We're very pleased you could join our discussion today with three historians from your region. I am, as Sarah mentioned, Teri Podnorszki Rogers. I'm the Executive Director of the Warren County Historical Society. One of the main features that you will find when you visit us here at 50 Gurney Lane in Queensbury is an exhibit entitled Warren County 360, Celebrating Place and People. And it is very much the centerpiece of all that we do here at the Historical Society. Let me tell you a little bit about how we came to be. We are a chartered historical society founded in 1997. We are chartered with the New York State Education Department. And over our 25 years, we've been at a few different locations around the area, always growing little by little to the point that we are in this fairly new building here right at Exit 20. When we began many years ago, our founder, Dr. Marilyn Van Dyke, began the Historical Society in a small office in Lake Luzerne. We then moved to a little bit larger quarters in the shirt factory on Lawrence and Cooper Streets in Glens Falls. And then for many years, we were located in the old fire department house over on Sunnyside in the Oneida Corners section of Queensbury. In 2017, we made the big move over to 50 Gurney Lane, where we are today. And the county very graciously gave us this amazing old house, which was built in 1922. So it's 100 years old. And it was originally built as the dormitory for the nurses who worked in the tuberculosis sanitarium up on the hill. So this big house was gifted to us by the county with the proviso that we create a museum, a destination venue where tourists and residents could come and learn about the history of Warren County. So with that charge, we went to work with a will, as we say, and we worked very hard to create a new way of looking at the history of Warren County. As historians, we have a motto here that we live by. For many years, our motto was holding on to a heritage. But we decided, coincident with our move to the new location, that we wanted to instill in our members and our visitors this idea that we're always looking toward the future. So we adopted a companion motto called Warren County Historical Society, where history meets the future. And we made it part of our mission here to always be interpreting the past with an eye toward living our best life for the future. So that is very much a part of what our mission is here. Our overall mission is to preserve and promote the history and heritage of Warren County and its surrounding areas. But in addition to that, we have many specific jobs and goals and objectives and programs that we offer here. We do offer historical programs. We have a very interesting website, which I encourage you to look into, WCNYHS.org. We have vast collections and archives. We publish local history books. We have a thriving book and gift shop. We are engaged in community history with the other public historians with whom we network. We have a very active student internship program. And the main thing that we do here is offer a museum. If you haven't been to visit us already, I do hope that you'll plan to come and visit us. We're open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 3, Fridays from 10 to 3, and Saturdays from 11 to 2. And as I mentioned, when you come to visit the Warren County Historical Society, you will be treated to a very new and different way of looking at the history of Warren County and the surrounding region. Back in 2017, when we were charged by the county with coming up with a destination venue as part of its heritage tourism objectives, we wanted to offer something that would be new and fresh and would entice people to learn about the history of Warren County in a new and different way. So after brainstorming about this for several months, we as a team here at the Society, and I might add that we are a team of volunteers who are all very dedicated to the work of history in Warren County, we decided we wanted to focus on geography. We wanted to underscore the important natural resources that are indigenous to this region and show how they helped the county evolve as it did, both with our culture and our society, but also with our economy. Obviously, given our location right here at Exit 20, we're very advantageously located right at the gateway of the Lake George region and the North Country. And we have many visitors who are coming off the exit right where we are located to visit Lake George, to go to the ski centers, to swim and boat and hike. And so we wanted to be very open and visible to tourists, as well as to our own residents, as a place where all could come and learn about the magnificent landscape that we offer here and the historic legacy behind the natural resources that were here when our first settlers came here many centuries ago. So with this in mind, we focused on a paradigm of cultural geography. And if I may, cultural geography is really kind of a subfield within human geography. It first emerged as an alternative to environmental determinist theories in the early 20th century, which said that people were really controlled by their environments as they evolved in society. So cultural geography focuses on cultural landscapes and shows how it is that people interact with their environments. We thought that this was a very interesting and useful model to use for our own settlers here in what became Warren County, because they were drawn here by the mountains, by the lakes, by the rivers. And because of those things, our county evolved the way that it has. So we went to work to select different areas of research and inquiry, which resulted in a series of narrative panels which are displayed in the first floor of our museum in a directional concept, which is why we get 360, because we mean for people to follow in a directional pattern the very beginnings of our county's history by looking at geography, by looking at how our first towns and one village and one city were established. We look at how our communities were first established. We obviously take a long, deep dive into the important military history of Warren County by looking at the different venues that were important in the French and Indian War, as well as important battles of the American Revolution. And we focus very heavily on how we were settled through a process of land grants and land patents. John Thurman was a very important early entrepreneur and settler who, back in the 1780s, bought huge tract of land, which is almost entirely what we know of as Warren County today. And it's amazing to think, with the foresight of this gentleman who literally bushwhacked his way through the North Country, having come from New York City as a merchant, to create a thriving community of 700 people that actually lived in what is now the Johnsburg and Thurman area by 1792. And he there established the area's first calico mill, cotton mills, other small industries, blacksmith shops, and distilleries. And it really is a very awesome historical fact to reflect upon the foresight of this young entrepreneur to create this thriving industrial area in what is today one of the farthest reaches of our county. So these stories of settlement that were very much inspired by the rich geography and geology that were here are central to the idea of our exhibit. We move on from that to talk about the importance of work and industry and how it is that our early industries were focused from the natural resources that were available here. Mining, for example, garnet mining in particular. Barton Mines today is at the upper reaches and the most southernmost reaches of our county. The mines that Barton Mine continues to operate today are in North River and the Ruby Mountain area. Their corporate offices are far south in Glens Falls. So their family history, their garnet mining history is a very important part of what makes up the history of Warren County industries. Likewise, the abundance of lumber and trees and forests, accounts for the rich papermaking and logging history that we have here. And the mill history that we have is very much driven by the abundance of water power that was found here, both in the Hudson River and the Scroon River and other smaller rivers and streams. One of the other features of our exhibit is the importance of our landscape in terms of how our tourism industry developed. One can't deny how beautiful it is, a place to live here and to visit, and we're very proud of that. And as historians, that's a very important part of our story to tell. Likewise, many important artists, writers, sculptors, painters were drawn to Warren County from the earliest days to come and create and to make art here. And we have beautiful stories to tell about that, including George O'Keeffe and Alfred Stieglitz, and also the important poetess and writer from North Creek and Johnsburg, Jean Robert Foster. As we continue on in the exhibit, we also look forward to what happened when the Adirondack Northway came to Warren County and the North Country region, and how the construction of the Northway, which began in 1957 and was completed by the mid-60s on its way to Montreal, how that construction of a major interstate highway system contributed to changes in our region, both in terms of suburbanization and the character of the economy in some of the smaller northern towns. So in the course of our exhibit, Warren County 360, Celebrating Place and People, we look at how the indigenous geography and geology of Warren County led to our development. And it is a very effective way of looking at how people lived here, how they worked here, how they formed the attachment to the land. And that really is the very essence of what sense of place means. It's a phrase that we often hear these days. As historians, we use it rather prolifically, but it has a very important meaning because it has to do with how it is that people live and do their best work in a certain place that they feel rooted in, that they feel attached to. And as historians, we are a very important part of reminding people why that is important in their lives. I happen to think that we do a very good job of that here at the Historical Society. Obviously, we love what we do, and we love any chance to promote history. But we have many avenues that we try to promote that idea. And one of my most favorite ways of doing that is through writing and publishing. In addition to being a historian, I am a writer. I have authored 5 books about regional history, and it's something that over the course of my career has been something that I'm very dedicated to. And I'm very pleased that in my position as director here at the Warren County Historical Society, I can continue that work. One of the exciting projects that we have on the horizon here at the Historical Society is called Warren County Voices. And it's our invitation for residents and tourists, and frankly, anyone who's interested, to write his or her own memoir of growing up in Warren County or living here or spending time here. And our plan is to put all of those stories into a book of recollections that we will be publishing in early 2023. So we simply ask people to sit down at your computer or put a pen to paper, and we're looking for stories that range from 1 to 5 pages. Submit them to us at the Historical Society. We're open to helping with editing. We're pleased if you'd like to include a photograph with your story that we can add to the book. But it will be an important reminder when the book is completed about the connections that we all share living in this beautiful place that we call home. We've been through a period of time during the pandemic where many of us have felt very isolated from one another. But I think the book will be a wonderful reminder to all of us about how connected we really are and really have always been, by sharing the stories that we all have of what it means to live in this beautiful place that we call home, Warren County, New York.